Present.
Also present at this meeting is, please announce yourself. You're muted.
Village Manager Ernestine Beck-Fulgham.
You still on mute, Dominic.
I'm sorry. You're muted.
Attorney Dominic Dito.
Okay,
Maybe I should go to the other one.
you're muted.
Okay, that's everyone else. I'm gonna read out. Has everyone that hasn't been called in roll call announced themselves? Attorney Miller, you there? Joe?
I'm back. Yep, I'm back.
I got you.
Okay.
Pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Executive 2020-07, COVID-19, Executive Order Number 5, which suspends the requirement of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, requiring in-person attendance by members of a public body during the duration of the gubernatorial disaster proclamation. The members of the village board will not be physically present for the designated board meeting, but will instead be participating in the meeting through audio access using a virtual meeting platform. Public comments may be submitted in advance of the meeting to Village Clerk D. Jones at university-park-il.com or by text message to 708-473-6201. All comments must be received by 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. In order to give proper consideration to all items on this agenda, the mayor will limit participants in debate and will close off protracted, repetitive, irrelevant, or abusive remarks. Public comments could be limited to a total of 3 minutes. Thank you. Clerk, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And are there any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I did not receive any public comments for this meeting.
All right, well, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, business discussion items. Item topic number 1, 518, discussion review of financial documents by board members. Let's open up the floor for discussion.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to our first Cal to all those Trustee Lewis and Trustee McFadden. So this is the fun part. We can talk without voting today.
But keep it short.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, actually, I don't. So we can go right into it. Yes, the review of financial documents by board members. I'm glad that we're taking steps. I do like how the overview was written that the village is committed to maintain an open and transparent management of the village finances, and also duly noted that the village documents have been remained accessible to the public via freedom of information, basically a FOIA Acts. I'm glad that we did indeed put that indeed as an overview for anyone who has question for it. For me, let me go into my first part of the discussion would be the board packets. Just for clarification for those on what we're reading. And usually I would have to say that I'm glad we have been, I would say from the moment I have became trustee that definitely we have gotten better as far as including documents inside board packets. This one here in paragraph 1 where it says all the following documents from the immediate preceding calendar month will be included in each board member's material contained in the village Dropbox prior to each board member each board meeting, and we have one, the check registry report, two, the invoice approval list by the fund report, three, the credit card invoices, four, the bank statements, and five, the depository account. Now, I just, in my first question, and I think I would ask is, when it comes to the credit cards, what credit cards are we going to have in here? Because that was one thing I did not see in the past was indeed the American Express, and it was unfortunate it had to take litigation and looking into something else before we even knew that there was a Costco card that it was indeed activated in 2018, but it was not used until 2019, after May of 2019. So when we start saying that we're going to have credit card invoices in here, I know we do use Menards. I do know we use Sam's Club, but are we going to always see all these credit cards within these board packets for us to review? Because that was like one of the biggest issues that came into questions when someone asked, are we paying, what credit cards are we paying? So that would be my question number one tonight. If someone can please answer me on that one.
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you
I
guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I've always maintained in regards, and I know we have something in regards to a policy later to talk, but I've always maintained that board members get access to information. The key information that I don't think that, and I've represented governmental entities for 27 years. And when I was with the Attorney General's office in Missouri, the same policy. I don't think you get passwords to accounts, but as far as partially redacted information, account numbers with the bills, as far as I know, that has always been, as far as our opinion, that's documents that you get. So I guess the question would be, and I can explain why. Part of my job is to not only, in regards to advise, but to also help you help yourself. And what I found in the past, at least in some of our other communities, is that if we have complete passwords or that information gets out to the public, then you're subject to potentially there being some theft of funds. But I agree with you that if the documents that you get in regards to credit card bills, all of the board members should get, but you're not necessarily going to get the complete account number of that, as far as in a packet that potentially could be released to the public. Now, if you guys come in and take a look at it, that's another thing. But so I think we're in agreement, Trustee Brooks, in regards to, you get that information, but you may not. I'm against giving out passwords or actually a complete account number. I've never been a recommendation of that as well. But in regards to making sure that, there are bills that you get, absolutely. I think 2018 probably predates me. So I can't speak to what happened as far as that account, and that's a different village manager. But in regards to a credit card that was opened in 2018, I have no knowledge about that. I can't really speak to why that hasn't agreed that the card information, with a partially redacted number, so you can make sure that you can tell what they're. Did I lose you guys? Am I losing?
You're okay now.
Did I lose you guys for a while there?
Yes, but you're okay.
Hello?
You're just dragging.
All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I added everything. I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, and I'm agreeing with you. No account number should be displayed, and I think that when it came to the confusion is that when Trustee Brooks requests information that he wants all the account numbers, and that's just crap. I mean, come on. I've done investigative work. I'm a detective. I know the rules. I know how it works. if I was trying to dive into something, it's like, I just wish whatever that false statement of, I wanted all these credit card numbers. That was not it. I just needed the last four. I can find out a lot of information with the last four of transactions, but I want to make sure that if we using, and actually that credit card, I believe it was the Costco card that was prior to Madam Village Manager. So she I don't even know if she knows about that one, but it was the fact that card was before then. But I want to make sure that to be transparent so that we don't ever have this again, where something is brought to the attention that, hey, board members, what about this American Express? I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know we even had American Express card, but if we're gonna have American Express card, I want it to be known that it's on, that this is gonna be all our credit cards. I believe every trustee should know, and indeed, let's make sure it's out there and that we're transparent about it and we don't exclude, because the truth be told, cards were excluded for payment in the past. So we want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So, I mean, if anybody in disagreement, I mean, Madam Clerk.
Wait a second. We got Madam Clerk, Manager, understand.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I see Madam Clerk.
I'll address her. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Okay, I was simply going to say that has been our policy. And after the controversy came up about the board not seeing and getting everything, I made a promise then. I said, moving forward, you guys will get all of every piece of paper that goes through the finance committee that's on your bills payable list, documents to support what's on the bills payable list. So that's what we have tried to do. And moving forward, if there's anything different that you want, we will try and do that.
And that's it.
Within the act and what this board agrees to in this policy. But it has always been my desire, and I've always been transparent through my office. And when I make a promise to you guys, we try and keep it.
Manager, I understand that you have a comment because any comments, Manager? Okay.
Tell her hit her mute button. I hear two mics.
Okay, what I basically said is I'm in agreement with trustee. I could have just answered your question with a yes. The intent is to do what I've always done since I've been here, is to provide you what we have, but there was a lot of other information maybe that was discovered later that I didn't have anything to do with. But as far as I'm concerned, all credit cards that we do have, and by the way, we've canceled some of those outstanding credit cards, but the credit cards that we do have, you've been receiving to date copies of all of that, especially that last stack of in excess of 500 pages. You got all of the invoices, you got bank statements, you got depository accounts, you got copies of, we gave you everything. And the intent is that would be put in your Dropbox as we had discussed, because they're looking at the village, they're meaning all of the officials elected and appointed are looking at a situation where we can go paperless. So you'll get all of that stuff. And if you opt to print it out, that's your option. But yes, to answer your question with one word, and that's yes.
All right, so let me stop there. Does anybody else have any questions about this agenda item?
Yes, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, Trustee.
I have a little cold. I wanted to know if monthly statements and revenue and expenditure reports are going to be included in that. list as well?
We list 5 categories, and bank statements come out monthly, so the answer is yes.
Okay. Also, when I was looking at it and I was reading at the bottom, I had some concerns where it says board members should not, without permission of the village manager, remove any financial docs from the village hall, make any copies of financial docs, take any photographs. We need your permission to review.
No, that's not what it said. It said
Okay, we
take,
just need, okay,
it
we
said
don't,
take from the village hall. In other words, you can come anytime to review, and we always have the door open. You can come to review. You can't take pictures. You can't remove it. You could review. We're talking about visually review, go through them, scan, all of that, but you can't take it with you. It's there because of the statute, but I'm just saying, don't make any exceptions. You cannot take them from the village hall. We're gonna provide basically what you need anyway. There's nothing else that's left.
Any other, Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, what we're trying to say is the documents, you can review everything. If there's some documents while you're reviewing that you would like copy of, you can request the copies. If it's privileged or confidential, we will redact that privileged or confidential information. Then you can take a picture or take a copy with you. But while you're reviewing the documents, you cannot take pictures of the documents. That's fully with all of the information disclosed. You might lose your phone. Somebody gets a hold of it. And we've had incidents of village accounts and checks and stuff being forged because somebody had access to that privileged and confidential information. So that's to safeguard the village.
So am I safe to say that we should move this legislation forward to be voted on?
No, because I'm not finished.
Pardon me?
I'm not finished.
All right, I just asked the question. What else you got?
Okay, number 2. All right. On number 2, the question would come in, when we have the bank statements, are we saying which bank statements that we will be able to take a look at? Because as a legislator, one thing that I'm being open and honest about is that I know that I would like to see, or at least at any point, know any transfers of money that we have made, especially between the TIFs, because I know we did a borrow in 2020? 2020, I want to believe, but I want to make sure as a trustee that we paid it back, because we have not, I hear someone say, oh, we have not had to, borrow any money in 2020 or 2020, whatever, or last fiscal year. And my question will be, okay, I hear that, but did we ever pay, or did we borrow the full $3 million? I would like to know, will we be getting those same bank statement, all the bank statements, or is this going to be redacted, or how are we going to be doing this? Because I do call into question, the bank statements that I've seen, that I finally got a chance to see, where once again, we understand that sensitive information must be redacted. Like I seen one individual name, and instead, which I have an idea, but we had a whole person name and account redacted. So I think at some point when we start speaking transparency, are we going to see all the bank accounts, and then are we going to include the same protocol when it comes down to these bank accounts up for review for trustees who are inquiring about it, because you do have it in here that it's going to be inside the the board packet.
Well, let me answer that. Trustee, Attorney Miller, doesn't this legislation cover it all?
Yeah. It does.
Unmute, Joe, unmute.
Sorry, I apologize about that. That was probably the best 10 minutes of my speaking too. No, but as far as I'm concerned, all of the bank statements are included within that. So if there's, so it would be, you partially redacted, but you should be able to tell what, where all of the bank accounts are for the village. So I'm missing, it sounds like you're saying, trustee, that in the past, you've been given a statement that had no account information at all, or no bank, or you didn't even know what bank it's from. That's not what this is intended to do.
Yeah, because the one that I seen was the one bank account, and actually, here's the part I was embarrassed by. A resident actually had it before I did, and pretty much more information, and everything I did was more of piecing together through investigation, in which I felt as a trustee, a whole name did not even have to be redacted as it was. A whole bank account was not, there was no purpose for that to be redacted as a whole. It was no reason. I can see that once again, when we say sensitive information, if it was individual first and last name, Madam Clerk, you've done it for years. You may do the first, or you may do the last, however you do it, in the last 4 digits. I didn't get that in the documents that was provided to me. And my thing is that if we're gonna do it, we do it right. And not only that, I want to make sure that my question come in is that what TIF bank account did this come from? Because that was a question too. The bank account I got, I believe, was from general funds, and like I said, it was not until last year that a former trustee walked in the village hall, and I see it was on a spreadsheet that was given to me what was in the TIFs, but I should have known about that the year before. We should not have to go through litigation to even get to that point.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't have a direct, I think the question has been answered, but as far as I'm concerned, the policy covers bank statements as well. So I can't speak to, and quite frankly, I don't get all of the information per se. I go through the Dropbox, but there may be some documents that you guys receive that I don't receive, and that happens with a lot of the villages. I do know Madam Clerk has been excellent as far as what I've been told. Practically everything is in the Dropbox. There may be a couple of items that I don't need to see, or that get in because there's other litigation that you're going to have other attorneys talk about. So, and here's the other part. As a village attorney, I don't have knowledge about all of the bank accounts that you have. So that's something that I wouldn't be able to look at the Dropbox and say, oh yeah, I know that the village has an account at the Joe Miller Bank. It's not in there. No village attorney really has all of that information, but yes, the bank statement should be in there, redacted. If there's some missing, we can try to make sure that information provided. Otherwise, I think we're all in, but it will have, those last 4, it's going to be redacted up to those last 4 digits or the first 4, however the Madam Clerk wants to do it. Are we in disagreement there? I think we're all in agreement, but I'm not sure.
No, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one.
Okay.
For the, I guess this one, would this be for Madam Village Manager in the second paragraph when you mentioned that the village manager or designee, or would this be more for the village manager may provide unless the request is not feasible in a time frame? Is that more of you receiving enough time for us to get into the board packet? Or would that be for Madam Village Manager, or would that be for Madam Clerk? And I guess that is a good thing to have in there, because if something was requested and it's not in the board packet, you know, some things, I hate to say that some of our records are not as great as they should be, but it would be some delay in us getting some records for it to be provided for a board member.
Yeah, I guess maybe Madam Clerk or Madam Village Manager want to answer this. For my purposes, what that is referring to is that someone couldn't, it would be not feasible if a board member called the village manager, say an hour or two before the meeting or whatever time frame, maybe even up to the day before the meeting, and say, hey, can you include that in the board packet? And it's not feasible because of whatever their schedule is. And so yeah, there are going to be some instances if someone, I have a lot of boards where we'll get there and we find out someone's like, oh, I would like to see that information. And we just find out right before the meeting. So that's what that language is trying to catch. And I'm hesitant to put a specific number of hours or anything of that nature, because it's all going to be specific to what's going on, how busy the village manager is. But in theory, yeah, if a board member wants something included in the packet, we'll get it in the packet, or the village manager and village clerk will get it in the packet, subject to, if there's some time restraints that's going to force them not to be able to get it in there. So, I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of this, you get the things in your Dropbox by Friday, for the most part, at least from what I see.
Okay. Another question I have that the board members request, and this is in the paragraph of individual elected officials meeting on the second page, when it says that the board members request shall not include any documents involving financial records from 4 or more years ago unless additional time is agreed upon to provide those records. Is there a specific reason why we picked 4 years, considering that the IRS tell us to keep everything up to 7?
Yeah. From where this is from Joe's perspective, that usually for a lot of my clients, when you get over a certain amount of years, they have a things in storage. So it will take a little more time to get those things out of there when you are talking about that. So you still have those documents. It's just that the physical location of those documents may be different. This is something that when it's drafted is trying to fit all situations. But for a lot of my clients, when we're talking about documents for 5 or 6 years ago, they may be actually in within village control, but not necessarily in the same folder as the documents or the account information for the last year or two. And maybe the village manager can expound on that, but that's usually how it works.
Hey, Madam Clerk, somebody making a noise. Madam Clerk, didn't I see you raise your hand or something?
Oh, that's basically what I was going to say. After a certain number of years, a lot of the records are electronic. So we have to print them out, but we can only, and the backup is usually up to 4 years. So after that, we have to search further. And that's why additional time may be required. It's basically the same thing as with a FOIA request.
Yeah.
When there's a lot of information that's not easily accessible, the Act allows us additional time to let the requester know that we will need additional time. So I think this kind of addresses that, depending on the magnitude of documents and the years.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. Next to last, I think I heard Trustee Jenkins Bell kind of speak on this. It says in the second paragraph, in the same paragraph on page 2, the records review will occur as soon as possible, but no case longer than 7 days after a board request. Is that just at a more of courtesy of the elected official and village hall, or is that because it may be a document that may take a little bit more than that? I'm just curious of when we put a timetable on that.
7,
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Go ahead,
sir.
Madam Village Manager.
okay, 7 days is the general length of the time, but if it takes more, that's where the communication starts. Then we have to alert you that we have to pull it from some archives that the clerk has in lock files, are still stored at the old village hall, whatever the case may be. But 7 days, within 7 days, we do that for the purpose of scheduling for staff and or getting docs.
Okay. And which underneath there, I guess when it says, and I think that was where I guess I'm okay with it in a sense, because Madam Village Manager, you've never I mean, we may be disagreement on what I was getting, but I don't think it was your fault. But what it says, board members shall not without the permission of the village manager receive documents. And I think with that, that's more of a statement of something that I think we pretty much have resolved and gotten better over the course of the time. So, Mr. Mayor, my opinion is that I think that whoever drafted this up, I think that when I seen this, I think we are getting a good start of trying to build transparency. There are some other things that I would like to add on to myself and actually make a comparison before we actually take an item action to it. But I do appreciate what I am seeing, or what the first step, because indeed in our village situation, I think we need to indeed take measures where when someone asks whether it is a reporter, whether it is someone from the state of Illinois, or whoever asks, do we have a policy? We have a policy. Because in the past, the answer was really, nothing is really in stone with University Park.
I'm a policy man, if we're gonna have this policy. I got a question, trustee. What was the process of on your last term as trustee? What was the process on requesting records, and how did you acquire documents then on that?
The process would be simple as you ask the village manager, and the village manager will provide those documents. It was never no issue of documents being manipulated. It was never no issue of documents were redacted. Really, to be honest, in the past, my first term, I was never given documents that were heavily redacted. And let me say very heavily redacted. So we just did not, it just wasn't an issue in the past. So now I would say, just like this country, we all move forward, different people, different leadership. Sometimes you got to take those measures.
Who did he say?
Oh, sorry, I can't see you, so I know Trustee McFadden has her hand up. Trustee McFadden, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Why is it why are we trying to get a policy now? It's probably similar to what you just said. What was the process before? Why are we trying to do this now?
To avoid, because there's been litigation filed, and we just don't want to have, we want to make sure that we're open, clean, clear, transparent form of government. And I wish that litigation had gone far. I wish Trustee Brooks would have had a conversation with me, because we could always seem like we can work together. But I don't know where the gap was then. But one thing that we all want to ensure that everything is clear and transparent. There's no problem with anything whatsoever. You know, that $14.9 million came up and no one said a damn thing. So we're gonna move forward. We want to set these policies in place to ensure we as legislators should ensure that our policies should be in place, and we should put policies in place that are enforceable and not just to have something on the books. So I think that policy will be a good thing because there's a lot of misinformation. People don't understand what they should actually be getting. And I don't think that you, Trustee Brooks, Trustee Franklin, Trustee Shirley, or anybody else will want their social security number, routing numbers, and bank account numbers out there. So it's to protect the integrity of our vendors as well. But when our board of trustees wants certain documents, please just provide it for them.
Okay.
That's all. I know when I was a trustee for those 12 years, when there was a request for documents, it was always in a redacted form. So, but there has never been a policy either. So I take the suggestion for council to have solid things in place to ensure that the trustees say, well, according to this policy or ordinance, X amount, X gives us this opportunity to come in and review the documents. That's it.
Okay.
I have
Thank
one
you.
more question.
Sonia,
What I'm trying to understand is when I'm looking at board members shall not without permission of the village manager. If we are legislators and with that reduce our power when it comes down to what we ask for, and it says without permission of the village manager, why do we have to ask her for permission? Now that's what I'm questioning, because my thing is this: who is doing the oversight for the village manager when it comes down to our finances? So if we as legislators, and it says without permission of the village manager, if we decide not to give the village manager permission to do it, who's gonna have oversight over the village manager? Now, isn't that the legislators? So why would we give her this much power?
It's not about the, could I say something?
I mean, just control. I don't want to. I might have used the wrong word when I said power. I'm gonna say control.
But let me ask that, Manager E. And just my idea.
I'm just trying to get
understand. Only would have access to the items that you are requesting.
Right.
But how does she decide? How does the village manager get to decide what is going to take place without the legislators saying that it's okay?
Attorney Miller?
I'm sorry, Madam Village Manager. I guess I'll let the village manager say something, then I'll respond, because I'll maybe catch everything when I.
First of all, according to statute, the village manager under this form of government is responsible for the day-to-day administration of the village. Now, if policy is in place, then it's my responsibility to make sure that the policy is adhered to, which means that when there are specific kinds of things, and with the clerk being master and what she is in the financial entity, it would not be in the best interest of the village to allow information dealing with people's social security number, personal information and sort taking out of here. I'm not saying, it's not a matter of me whether I trust or don't trust you, members of the board. The fact is, it's more than board members. It's more than myself, whose data becomes a part of the public forum. What this ordinance is doing, it's putting it in a policy form to make sure that when a trustee comes in and wants a statement, and this statement hypothetically has a citizen's name on it with the citizen's social security number or the citizen's account number, you know, I may say redact that citizen or keep the first name or redact the last name, take out the social security number totally, but redact the account or whatever. I'm only interested, and I'm not going to get too petty with this, trustee. I'm only interested in information getting out of your hands
Wait a
and
minute.
taking
Wait,
it to
wait,
a
wait.
public forum. And
Now you
basically,
Well,
that's
said,
all I'm saying.
me. Now you
I'm just
said
doing
the
this
word
based on
pay,
this.
and I'm asking a question. I know you didn't say the
no,
word pay.
What, trustee?
yeah. Well,
I
hold on.
just
Let me
asked a
answer.
question to get
Oh,
clear
trustee, I wasn't
understanding,
calling
and I
you
don't
that.
think
I
that the
think you're
question
reading
that I
into
asked
that.
was
I wasn't
negative.
calling you that. I wouldn't dare
Well, you
call
need
you
to
that,
think and
trustee.
use
I
your
wasn't
words
saying anything.
carefully when you're dealing with me.
Yeah, but
Excuse me?
let me try to
Excuse me?
answer. Madam Village Manager, can I speak? So I guess a couple of things. That provision of the policy, remember, is only referring to removing documents from Village Hall. But
That's
when you
all.
go to the earlier part of the policy, hold on, let me speak. The information regards the bank accounts, or the bank statements, the credit invoices, all of them make copies of that anyway. This is only in regards to if there's information at the Village Hall. For my purposes, that applies only to if you want to, there's something extra not in the Dropbox and you want to take that away from Village Hall.
So,
I need to have some sort of accounting also as well, so that if something happens, we have some, we can say, okay, we know that Trustee Joe Miller was given some documents, the village manager approved it. We have some accounting of what records have left Village Hall, because quite frankly, in some of the litigation that we've had and that I've seen in other municipalities, when we don't know who had access to information or how someone got information, that's when we have problems. But remember, that provision has nothing to do with the information that you're already getting in the Dropbox that has all of the credit card information, that has all of the bank statement information, the registry report, the credit card. So all of that information you're already getting, just partially redacted. Really, the key is if there's some additional documents beyond that and you want to come in, like I said earlier, I do have a problem if you want the full account number of things of that nature. And if that's going to be a request, then that should go through the village manager. I understand, but this is why this is a draft of a policy. If there's something in there that you want to see changed, then we can do that. So this is all for your discussion, for you guys to decide how you want this policy to be in there. But, as the mayor indicated, there was some litigation, and what we're trying to do is make sure that there's clarity on what the process is going to be. So that's why we have that. But we can talk about how to amend it to have something different if that's necessary. But that's the idea. Remember, that section is only for, making copies of the documents if you're at Village Hall and you want to remove something. If you have something in your Dropbox and things of that nature and you want to make a copy of it, there's no problem with that.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers. I hope that answers it, Trustee.
It answers. Yes, thank you.
Trustee Brooks?
Yeah, Mr. Miller, and this, what I love is that at least we having a dialogue on this, because let's make the understanding, and I think I hear Trustee Sonia Bell point, but I also see your point as well. But I also hear something that I personally feel no one on this board should be trying to get someone's information with their social security number on it. If you do, shame on you. Because we all know nobody should be in here grabbing any information with no resident, no employee social security number on there. So, let's strike that right there. It should not be happening. I want to make a point that the only reason why that this is a good discussion, and I think that we should put in perspective of what Trustee Brooks, what he encountered, is that if I request a credit card from January to June, but yet out of that 6 months, I only get 4 months, it's going to be a problem. And if I ask the village manager and the village manager doesn't have it, and I think that's what Trustee Jenkins Bell also, when she says, hey, well, if I come in and look, can I take, we start talking about the power of who gets that information. Now, if someone else through the FOIA files a lawsuit and so happen to get the same request from January to June, and they got all 6 statements, that's a problem. And I'm gonna tell you, that was my frustration. And I feel like We need to have something that a trustee should not bump into that again.
Yeah,
I think you're about to talk, Miller. That's why I stopped.
Yeah, if there's a FOIA request and okay, yeah, if there's a FOIA request, if someone through a FOIA request got all of the documents, there's quite honestly no reason why if a trustee requests the information that they're not going to get the information. So I think we're in agreement, but you would be surprised what people ask for. So I know that the village manager mentioned social security number, and I'm not saying that anybody would be there, but she used that as an example only. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is that hopefully, like if you make a request for 6 statements and you only get 4 or 5, that we first go to say, hey, I only got 4 or 5. Did you forget? Maybe it was just a mistake, and we can get that one to you. That's because that can happen where you just by mistake thought that you gave all of the requested documents to the trustee, and as it turns out, and maybe someone has a FOIA request and you find out, oh, we missed a month to a trustee. Saying I don't 100% know, but I could see that happening. And I guess what I would say is if you make a request and you feel like if you're missing some documents, that call a village manager and say, hey, I requested, January through June, and you only gave me January through May. Why is that? Is it because we don't have the June statement yet? Or is it because it was just a mistake, an oversight in getting the copies to you? That's all.
Yeah. And the reason why I say it is that I know for a fact that I wasn't the only one, is that there were former trustees that they tried to get, former public officials. I'm not putting nobody out there. There were former public officials that requested documents and they pretty much did not get what they want. But I think that this would be the beginning of, and I understand Trustee Jenkins Bell when she says, I know all does go through the village manager when we request something that deals with the day-to-day, but also say, for instance, in which I don't, but if I had a credit card, naturally I would want all my statements, or if I took a trip, I want all my documents, submitted and ready, available for the board to see especially if I got any reimbursements or any of the sort. Because I tell you right now, boy, y'all just be surprised. I'm spending my own money whenever I travel. That's just me. So you won't see nothing from me. But if you ask for something, it should be available for them. It should be for them to see. It shouldn't be a gap in between. And so that's the only thing that I would say that we want to. I think the checks and balances, maybe that's the word that Trustee Jenkins is. Maybe that's what she's trying to articulate when it comes to it. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much.
The one thing on that, an example, if someone requested this information through the village manager for statements January through June, and they made this request on near the end of the month, there's a likelihood that the last month's statement the village has not yet received. It depends on the date of the request. I'm not saying that this can't happen, because it can. And an example, I know when I get my bank statements, and if somebody wants my June bank statement on the 2nd of June, they can't get it because I don't have it. The bank don't release it then. So I'm just mentioning a couple of things. And also, I think all of you know, requests under the FOIA Act, I try real hard to follow the act to the T, to the T, redactions when necessary, and all of that. And I've said to board members, you don't have to request information from my office under the FOIA Act to review, because you can make an appointment, come in and review any documents. But I've also said you can't sit there and take pictures of anything. You can't write down numbers, and you can't be in the room by yourself. We have to monitor who has access to the records. And even in FOIA, a lot of times I look at them and go, whoa, because they're so heavily redacted, because statute says, the act states certain information we can't give out. So, but I understand your point, but I think all of your concerns in reading this, basically, it appears to me have been addressed in this policy. And I kept reading one paragraph over and over and over, but I was misreading the paragraph because I started in the middle of the sentence. So that's
And Madam Clerk, I would like to give you, despite what others may say, I'm gonna give my experience with you. You have always told me, you know, Theo, you know, trustee, whatever you want to come with, you know, when we have our conversation, you'll tell me, come look at it. So yes, I would say I never had that difficulty with you whatsoever. I think that when it comes to across the board as a legislator, and this, my issue, for the record, never dealt with Madam Clerk, never. So every scenario I gave was never with Madam Clerk. When I gave the scenario of like the credit card, it was more than enough submission. It was more than a sufficient amount of time, say January through June. I'm asking for it in December. And if say someone filed a FOIA through Madam Clerk, and Madam Clerk gave them all 6 statements, but Trustee Brooks only got 4, and then just so happened I'm able to find the other 2, and it's something on there I may have discrepancy with, then it seems like it's not transparency, and then it makes, as a legislator, makes you ask for a checks and balance. But Mr. Mayor, I think that we are taking the beginning, and I think this is a healthy discussion. There's couple more things that I would like to, I heard you say, have a discussion. There's a couple more things that I feel that I would like to add as a legislator to this. And I think this is the beginning, because once again, I will emphasize that it has been asked, what is our policy? And I pretty much had the same treatment you did, Mr. Mayor. When I asked for something my first term, I didn't have any problems.
Mayor, can I be recognized briefly?
Yes, trustee, go.
Just want to make a comment. I'm thankful that we're moving toward a policy like this. I think this is extremely important. I think for us to continue to operate without a policy like this is breeding grounds for trouble, for corruption and other things. So I think this is great dialogue. I like for the most part, I like the way the policy is written. I also like the fact that it has a checks and balance system in place to ensure that trustees don't have too much power to go in and just take things from the village, because that's a recipe for disaster in itself. I don't know, if not the village manager as the checks and balance person, I don't know who else that could be. So I think that I think this is a solid system. I think that it's well written, and it definitely has a foundation in transparency. And I think that's what the most important thing is.
Trustee Franklin, I'd like to have this dialogue with you. Where would we, when we start talking about, when you say solid, where would you say that this is solid? Because once again, I think we need to remember as legislators that if the village manager does not provide all the information that a trustee, where would it be in this policy that board members, or how do we take action?
So the last statement I made is that it has a foundation in transparency. So that means that at this point, I believe the document has room for improvement. I think it's a solid foundation. I think that it definitely highlights some of the major questions or concerns that has come up in the past. I as well have been asked about what's our policy as it relates to this topic. So just like you, I didn't have the answer to it. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the fact that we're having this conversation and looking to put a document like this in place. So when I say solid, I'm talking about the foundation. I believe it's a great document. It's a great starting point, and it's something that with fine tuning should be something that we should put in place as soon as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, but let me address something. And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I apologize for belaboring this. I don't think you want to put in this document something, you as trustees, I guess I'll say it this way. If the village manager or if the village manager is not providing you with access to documents, you have the authority to discuss that in regards to when you talk about what duties that the village manager is doing. If there's a problem in regards to that, I don't think you necessarily need to put that in the policy about what to do if there's a problem, because then you may be tying yourself to that in regards to possible action by an employee. But you as board members always have the power to discuss, especially if you have the village manager, whether they're under contract or not under contract, you always have the power to discuss the performance of the village manager. And that would be something that you would bring up. And I would suggest that trustee bring that up to the other board members. Like, hey, I requested these documents and village manager isn't getting these documents for me, and talk about, why is that occurring, and talking about the performance. I'm not sure you want to put in there something in regards to what happens to an employee for failing to do it, because I think that you may be limiting yourself to the ramifications or to the language of the policy in regards to when you just discuss employee actions. That's the only thing in there. I don't think you want to add something in regards to making this a disciplinary document in regards to an employee's performance.
What Trustee Miller? Oh, listen to me, Attorney Miller. Attorney Miller, I just want look. I hear.
I know where you're coming from. I do know where you're exactly. I know where you're coming from. I just want to make sure that I want to address that for everyone, to make sure that we don't try to go too far with this document. I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know, trustee, you've been a trustee for 12 years at least.
No, that's
12 years. Maybe longer.
No, I'm on my second term.
Okay, I thought you were trustee before then as well. So I know you guys have understand the information. So I would caution you into trying to add too many things into this document that maybe you can address individually as a board. So that's all.
Yeah, and okay, well, you know what you did say, because here's my only dilemma with that, and Trustee Franklin, I mean, I did not make it a secret and I think it wasn't just me, but when there was a situation when I did ask for something, I got tired of asking and asking and asking. And I do feel that at some point, we do need a policy in place that if we do need to sit down and address the village manager or whoever is refusing to give the documents, because what happened was that it became a lot of finger pointing, Trustee Franklin, of, well, I was told not to do this because of this person. I'm told not to give you this because of that person. Now, I never disclosed that because I feel like as a trustee, I shouldn't even go through all that. I should just simply ask, may I have items A, B, and C? That's it. If you can't give me C because of such reasons, that's it.
And remember, we never had a policy, so we're taking a step outside and creating policy. There's going to be some hiccups, but the initial policy to have something in place is very important. And we all heard the cries from everybody else, well, there's the policy. What can we depend on? We depend on policy, the way we operate. So it's good. And it might not be perfect the way everybody wants it to be, but there's something that we haven't had in 50 plus years in this community that's going to benefit. Yeah, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but we're working toward a positive thing, open, clear, transparent government. That's all it's about. That's all it's about.
Yeah, I just, and Mayor, and you and I done had great discussions, for the record. So yes, it did get to us. It did get to a conversation. I think you and I had already talked about that. It was just it's the fact that anybody who may spend time and money into something, trying to only get something as simple as an answer, and when you don't, you're trying to make sure that whatever experience I got, I'm trying to make sure the rest of my colleagues do not bump into that same road, or they may not have the resources I have. That once again, if I ask for a certain document, like for instance, I'm going to ask about the TIF. I'm going to ask about it because I know good and darn well that we need to have some answers coming up. And I mean, this not that time, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna ask about it. I'm going to ask to see it. We need to have it in place. That's it.
Anybody else? So shall we move this document forward for action for the last meeting of the month? Is it the recommendation of the board to move the policy forward?
If I have anything further, Mr. Mayor, can I, if the board wish to move this forward, if I have anything further, can
Send it to the
we?
clerk. Yes.
Okay,
Please
who would
do.
You or Miller? Who?
Send it to the
Castano
clerk
or
and the
Miller?
clerk will get it to send it to the clerk.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say. And I will make sure we get it to the attorney and to the mayor so
Okay.
that it'll be ready. Don't forget it now.
No. Oh,
Okay.
I ain't shoot, man.
Oh,
I want borrow some money. No, I'm
we won't even talk about that.
I know, Madam Clerk. I
I see
know. I'm
Trustee
just teasing.
McFadden might have had a question. Trustee McFadden, you got a question?
Yes, I do. On here where it says the board members shall not, without permission of the village manager, remove any financial documents from the village hall, make any copies of financial documents, or take any photos and financial documents. Shouldn't this be common knowledge? Do we have to have it written that we
Yep.
can't
Yeah.
get it without that? I just had a problem. That kind of like just made me have a question about that. Shouldn't that be common?
Yeah.
We should, if we can't do that,
Sometimes you have to put
this
it
should
in.
just be it. That's what
We
I'm
need to have it in writing. Yeah, I think we need to
Okay.
have it in writing. It is definitely,
Okay.
it just to clarify all situations, it should be in writing. I understand where you're coming from, but I do think we need to have it on paper.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, may I be recognized? Trustee Lewis. So I agree with it should be written in the document because it seems like Trustee Brooks before had problems trying to get information, or information might have went, he might have seen some things and not seen some things, but it does need to be written out so we're all on one accord to understand the policies of what we can and cannot do, or what we should be doing as legislators. We shouldn't have to run into a problem where we're not getting information. And I believe the clerk did say that she gives out the information as well as the village manager as best they could, because like we're all saying, we don't want to run into any problems as far as information being seen by the public. Nobody needs additional lawsuits and things of that nature, but it should be spelled out. I agree with that. It should be spelled out. And if it's information that we need, we should be able to get it, as Trustee Brooks said, even though it may be redacted, but it's information we probably can follow along when we see it. That's it.
Madam Clerk?
Just, excuse me, to add this, any changes, we would appreciate having it no later than Monday of next week, if possible, because we have to prepare the agenda and the attorneys have to scrutinize the work. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Good, healthy discussion.
Trustee Brooks, get that in.
And if
I'm
anybody else,
trying to see this date, the 14th, Madam Clerk.
Excuse me?
No, in
yeah, the 14th. For
Thank
the
you.
record, the 14th, 1-4.
For the record.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Item 1B, a discussion resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement by and between the Village of University Park and Will County License Plate Reader. Opened up for discussion. Does everybody understand what this piece of language is and what it actually does?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, that if I'm mistaken, this was fine. It's just we needed the permit in order to have the readers, correct? Am I correct?
No. Okay, the boxes and the readers are already installed. And if
Right.
you ride throughout the town, you see little boxes with the
Right.
camera and the solar energy. Those are located for Will County. These are license plate readers. So my assumption, not my assumption, my knowledge of it is if there's a crime that occurs in the community and there's an identification on the car and they're exiting out one of the ways that the police department can go back and look at the license plate and match it up with the description, and you can probably come back with the match on what's going on. It's just another mechanism to ensure safety in the community and in Will County.
Right. We just needed to pass this in order for I forgot it was like some tech. Right. Shirley Bowden got it. You know what?
Again, for the record, for the policy, so we can have it in black and white.
Okay. Got it. I'm
Are
fine
these-
with it there.
Okay, I just got a question. Are these readers located throughout the parameters of the town,
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Now, when you're coming past the town center, where you walk your dog at, you'll see like a white mailbox with the solar panel and a camera.
I see that.
That's one. There's one by the golf course. Before you're making the left turn going west, there's one on Western Avenue. They're like on the borders of the community where people enter and come in and go out. So they're pretty strategically placed throughout the community. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
On page 5 of the exhibits, there is a chart of the locations. All of the
Okay.
readers are installed. On
Thank
page-
you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, yeah, page 5.
Gotcha.
May I be recognized?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, trustee.
I've had some residents ask me, just for clarity, I'll just put it on the record. I had some residents ask me, are the cameras for speed? Will the cameras recognize if your plates are expired? Things like that. So if we can just be clear what they'll be used for.
They're not for speed. They're not speed cameras.
Okay.
And I don't know the diagnostic if they can. Go ahead, manager, because manager can answer that one. Unmute yourself. There you go.
What, for example, something recently happened about a week ago. There was a crime committed in the village. And it just so happens that the perpetrator of the crime zoomed past the reader right as entry past the town center. We were able to utilize the information for the reader and get the license plates of the perpetrator, and it helped to solve the crime. So it's used in a lot of instances where like shooters, where an activity took place, we utilize that reader. It automatically, as the car passes by, zoom, boom. And it also, not that we're looking for any crimes, anybody that go through the village, past those, it's taken anyway. And we can always go back and go back and look at them to help solve whatever issues. It's multi-purposes, but we didn't intend for it to be used for speed. We have something else coming up for that.
Thanks for the clarity. I appreciate it.
We want everybody, so when a resident comes up, we want everybody to be as informed to the utmost. So when residents come up out the clear blue sky and ask a question, that we're properly equipped to give them the correct answer to the best of our abilities. And as long as we communicate with each other, we win. We win.
How long is the data stored?
Well,
And
this is what we're trying to work on right now. There is a limit.
Okay,
So we don't
Okay.
even want to tell you, then come back and change. We're trying to
Right.
work on it.
Yeah.
Because
okay,
the way they have it set up, when it feels to a point like a drop box, we either lose it or put it on some kind of form of similar microfiche. So we're trying to get that clear now.
okay. Is this data, does this data go out directly to the police station? Will they get it as well, or does it, where does the data go? Is it
Police
for
station.
us? Police station? Okay.
Any other questions regarding that? Another good mechanism in these trying times, you know, crime is crazy. So there's another way that we can have some accountability on what's going on. And as the manager said, we're working on cameras throughout the whole community. So it's a work in progress. Thank Will County for considering us and giving us an opportunity to keep up with, continue lowering our crime statistics. So I can say safe that we're going to move forward with this piece of legislation for action. All right. Sounds good. That was a very good one. Very good one. So, Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I know it's not on the agenda, but if I could have your permission, I would like to just inform the residents and the board of the passing of one of our former trustees and past village president, Tom Johnson, passed away yesterday in Las Vegas. So I wasn't sure how many of you knew him or all of that, but I just wanted to just take a moment to inform the public and the board of his passing.
Thank you.
I saw that yesterday. I was on the board with Tom Johnson.
I know.
Yeah.
I know something else you did. I'll tell you after the meeting.
Okay. I know you remember, whatever.
So Madam Clerk, I would ask you to do a resolution for the meeting for our past president.
Yes, will do.
All right, well, thank you. And
You're muted, Mayor.
Yeah.
we're going to ask for a motion to adjourn. We have 2 items of discussion regarding litigation in executive session. And that will be it, guys. That's it. Very sweet and simple. Everybody will be in on this executive session.
Motion to move to executive session.
For the purpose of discussing pending litigation.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a motion by Trustee Brooks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Golden. All, Madam Clerk, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we do a roll call on that, please?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was getting to that. Okay. Trustee McFadden.
Vote. Present.
Oh, aye.
Going into executive session. Okay,
Okay.
Trustee Brooks,
Both aye.
Trustee Jenkins Bell,
Both sides.
Trustee Franklin,
Both sides.
Trustee Bolden,
Both sides.
Trustee Lewis,
Votes aye.
and Mayor Rudez.
Votes aye.
This is for purposes of litigation.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, pending litigation.
Now, I've got a question. So are we going to go to breakout rooms next?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Okay.
Didn't even know.
Does Ms. Jenkins know this it's time? Someone communicate with her?
She said she's ready.
Yes,
Okay.